Okay, I think if you actually saw the slides and you saw all those nice slides and I think the last speaker said that he brought it to the ground. Well, I'm going to try to keep it on the ground and make it move a little bit faster, yeah? So what I'm going to actually speak to you about is urban logistics. Now, this is actually an interesting idea because we just actually started a research activity in Singapore supported by A-STAR, and this is a multi-institution effort, yeah? So first, to stay as we in supply chain management are quite, well, I should say less interesting people because we actually try to hide everything and move it faster to meet the expectations of the customers. So, but what we actually understand from movements in an urban environment is actually that if you don't move it, it actually will consume a lot of cost. Now what I mean by that, because if the guy brings something which you have effectively ordered online, he brings it to your house and you're not in, he has to go away and bring it again and again and again. So effectively, in simple terms, we can lose a lot of efficiency on what we in the supply chain call the last mile, yeah? Now, the last mile is the concept of the last few hundred yards into your home, yeah, or into a retail shop. Now, we can lose so much of the efficiency that it's actually worth our time in academia to look at how to solve this. Now, you saw a lot of nice, interesting diagrams. We in supply chain, I told you, are uninteresting, so all I got is some black blobs to move, yeah? Now, if you watch that with you can actually see what we want to do in supply chain management or logistics is to optimize the number of moves. Now, we can optimize the moves of individuals or we can optimize the moves of vehicles, yeah, because what we have to do is make sure one will actually try to make space for the other. Hopefully, they will both make space for the rest of us, yeah. But actually, one of the things that we want to do is actually try to minimize the moves. So when we try and do that, what we want to do is understand the whole idea of work, live, and play. And I think you heard that a number of times today. So I want to actually labor that. But if you can stop folks from moving, or you can actually try and optimize the movements or limit the movements to a central location, then you actually start to get efficiencies that you deserve. Now, you can see some examples here from Singapore. So some people will work and live in the same place. Some people will live and play. That's nice. Some people will actually do, some of the combinations. But what we want them to do is actually work, live, and play in the same location, such that the supply chains are much more efficient. Yeah. Now, when we actually look at this, and I was in Amsterdam last week, and we put this slide up just to see what the reaction was. They got quite excited, and I said, wow, is it because of the pictures? It cannot be, because it must be the words. So actually, there are three main ideas, if you like. The first is actually design it out. That means stop it from entering an urban environment in the first place. And we have seen firms do this. We have seen governments do this. We have seen so many different actions, to just block it out like it does not exist. So you put a tax on it, or you do whatever you want, but don't come into my zone. Now we'll actually see the one in the middle, which we'll experience a lot in Asia, is just leave it alone and pretend it does not exist. Yeah. So if we are going to go to work, just assume it's going to take longer than usual. Yeah. So just design it in, but actually leave it alone. Now, the last one here is what we are doing now. Whenever I speak in the US or in Europe, they want to move the logistics out of the city. Now, that's quite hard for us to do in Singapore because we are one just one location. So actually, if we move it out, where are we going to move it to? We have to move it somewhere. So the idea is here, make sure it's well designed and it's designed into a plan. And I think we experienced that with a lot of examples this morning. Yeah. Now, when I wanted to have a slide on each of these, but it's not allowed in time. So what I'm going to do is just try to go through these ideas with you quite briefly. So the first idea here you'll see in the slides, if I start on the top, is actually try to push everything underground, hide it. Make it efficient, but move it underground so that we create more space for sustainable living on the top. You can see something in Amsterdam there, you can adapt it. We can go from trucks back to cycles, and you can actually try and move it, and you'll see that there done by some of the logistics company. Here we can try to invert it. So we move everything we don't want to see or we want to hide, we move it underground, and everything that we want to see, we move it overground. Yeah, so we invert it, yeah? Now when we can invert it, we can also integrate it. Because we can actually start to, we can move it underground, we can move it overground, we can integrate the two elements together. Sometimes we don't have to move things at all, and we can get things designed and made in our homes, because nowadays you can get it's a printer. You want to go, you can go online. You can have a design. You can go and offload it into a printer, and it can make some things which you want, whatever you desire, and you'll have it in your hand within a matter of hours. Yeah. And next thing you can do is try to group it, because instead of having to go to so many locations at one time, why don't you just go to one location and let those who actually want the goods go to those locations to, to pick it up. We can innovate it, and I'm not sure that's innovation, but it's innovation. And I went to the web and I saw so many nice diagrams that, it's so interesting. But you can innovate it and you can design things, allowed, which are allowed by your rules of your government. Or you can enlarge it. That means you can make things move, and you can make things move on the road almost like a road train. And I think this is a picture in Australia, yeah? So these are some of the examples that we are trying to explore what actually makes sense in Singapore. Yeah. Now, when we actually started to to look at this, what we do know is that no matter what you do in urban logistics, it will increase your competitiveness. Now, actually, I just want to jump to the next line here, and I actually started with saying, you got to think out of the box. But it's actually what I actually wanted to end up saying, please start to think about the box. Because in every image that we saw today, there was no boxes. But whenever you design something and you try to leave out the movement of the boxes, that's when the issues start to come. Yeah, and I think this is actually, so think in the box, think out of the box, but just think about the box. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So one example which is nice here is actually this example that you can actually have a look at here, where the moment you order something, it can actually go to a main integration point. And this integration point can then SMS you, send you an email or whatever to go to that location at your convenience, and just open the door, you collect your item, and then you can actually, if you have to pay any tax or anything, it can be paid on the point. Yeah. So this is kind of an integration point. This is what's going to come to us. It already has some existence in other locations, but I think this is a great point to do. Now, I know I got to come to an end quite quickly. So what I did is that we actually had some students in the university, and I was describing to them some of the main issues in urban logistics, and I said to them, what can we do? And so we had an artist, and with a lot of artistic license, yeah, we said, what can we actually do to solve these issues? But please ignore it if you're an engineer, yeah, which I kind of think that it doesn't have to work, it's a concept, yeah. So we came out with 16 ideas, of which I can show you 3 here. And one idea was the expandable truck, yeah, because this truck, whenever we move goods, one of the things that we try to do is that whenever we have to move a good and it's offloaded, the space is wasted in the truck. So why not make the truck shrink with every delivery, yeah? So this is the expandable truck, and we can actually see this occurring. But we didn't only want to expand it in length, we wanted to expand it in width as well, so that it can go through some of the back alleys. Another example they looked at here was in Singapore, we have this it's a long bus. So why not actually leave the behind of the bus behind, making use of freight. So these were all kind of things. So as you see the bus, now you see it, now you don't. Yeah, but it's actually going to leave the boxes there. Same with the MRT. The MRT will stop overnight, and so why not use the MRT for freight, or actually use some other mechanism? So these are some of the innovative ideas that we are arriving at. Now, I thought all of these things are, quite simple to, to implement, and I was so happy today. I picked up the Straits Times, and so actually from Spring, yeah, actually there was a nice thing here, which said noodles, will actually be, they'll go to the retail points or to the point of demand in a shared truck. Now, for those, I gave it to somebody to read, and he said, it's obvious they're going to that location, so why don't they share the truck anyway, But in supply chain management, there are so many rules and regulations to share a truck, that this is actually innovative when these companies actually do this. So something I'm so happy that this was actually announced, and I hope we get some share of the money as well for doing more of this stuff, yeah? So with that, I kind of want to hand back to David, and I hope I kept my word and kept it short.
Thank you, Bob.